Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those of you still on the fence, we are back with another episode of Derailed, courtesy of Arcaicskidz. I am Arcaicskidz. This is Cameron King from Cam and K on YouTube. Definitely check them out in the description below. What's up, man?
Hi, guys. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. So we were going to jump into some reparations conversations that are going on in a couple places. I want to get your feedback on that. Okay. But first things first. So Biden's coming after guns again.
Okay.
He wants federal red flag laws. He wants those get those put in place, and they're pretty bad. Like, you're reading through them, and even a cop could file a red flag thing against you.
Okay.
Which, that's like a violation of your Fourth and Fifth Amendment right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What is the red flag?
It's basically that they say, oh, well, we think that they're mentally unstable, so we can go in and take all their weapons away until they prove that they're mentally stable.
Oh, wow.
So, if your ex-wife, your boss, a police officer, family member, direct family member, just a slew of people that'll be able to go, I don't think this person's mentally sound or whatever. So, I mean, think about it. If you and your wife get in a fight, right, and she wants to get some revenge or whatever, she calls the 5-0 and goes, oh, my husband's crazy. And then they come, don't need a warrant. They just go, oh, give us the guns. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So, but they also want to, they keep bringing up this crap that, oh, if you go to a gun show, you can just buy a gun. You don't have to do a background check, which is an absolute lie. Any firearms dealer, federal firearms license dealer has to do a background check under federal law. So he's just lying, just flat out lying about it. You know what I mean? But anyway, my outlook on this is, since the dawn of time, when they started making gun laws, it was always for racist intent. And I don't think that's ever changed. You know what I mean? It disproportionately affects minority communities. Always. You look at Chicago, they have some of the strictest gun laws in the world, and yet the highest violent crime rate in the entirety of this country.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of that crime is it's black on black for the most part,
Oh, yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what do you think about all this going on?
I think that it's interesting. I do think it's interesting. The only thing that confuses me is, like, all these people that did these mass shootings within the past couple of weeks. Heard it was like 4 or 5 of them. Wasn't it just that many?
Yeah, I think so. It was, yeah.
All these people that did all these mass shootings, they all had a license.
Yeah.
So
every one of them had been through a background check.
Yeah, so I'm just confused on, like, putting any more laws in place. How would that help? That's either, I think, like, we either go all drastic or we just leave it completely alone. I like what you said, either open up the guns completely or completely take them all away. I can't see.
I never said take them all away.
No, I know you never said that. You said you wanted to open up the guns completely for everybody to have them. Yeah. So I said, we open them up completely for everybody to protect themselves, or we take them all away. I don't know. I think, like, there's no in between with it, honestly, because obviously the in between isn't working.
No. Well, I don't think taking them all away would be good, because, criminal's going to criminal.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're not going to care. You're just going to take them away from people and leave them completely defenseless. Yeah. So I'm a much bigger fan, and when I articulate my point, it's more defense, not less defense.
Yeah.
How many women are going to feel a lot more secure walking down the street by themselves when they know that they got old Sam Colt in their holster? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just an explanation to the mass shootings that have been going on, because we could prevent that a lot. Because a lot of these mass shooters are cowards. They get guns and they go in places where they know that people aren't armed. So yeah. That's another thing about a lot of these mass shooters. But then again, I can't even say that, because some of the mass shooters have went in places where people are armed. So,
yeah, but most of them usually end up dead pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, pretty quick.
You go back to last year, whatever, that one in Texas, that guy pulled the trigger twice, missed both times. He got shot by 4 different people in that church. Mm-hmm. And it was something like 22 people on video that all pulled weapons after he had went down to just make sure that he was, a goner. So.
But wasn't one of the shootings recently? I think it was like 4 people that got killed. I want to say it was in Kansas, and they don't have strict gun laws.
I mean, it could be, but you still have gun-free zones. It's still a situation where a crazy person is going to do a crazy thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And the bottom line to me is, look, if gun laws worked, we wouldn't have mass shootings.
Right.
We wouldn't. Rather the weapons are gotten legally, illegally, whatever. It's not a matter of we don't have enough laws. It's not a matter of they're not strict enough. It's not a matter of any of that, because if that was the case, it would have worked. It's kind of like the war on drugs, right?
Yeah.
This is a war been going on, what, 60 years? You lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, at a certain point, you got to look at your tactics and go, well, maybe we should revisit this entirety of our situation, what we're trying to do here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is, I honestly do believe that gun laws disproportionately affect, just like drug laws, they disproportionately affect minority communities. You can't, in one hand, say, well, the black people, they're poor and they need to get paid reparations, which we're going to get into, but then turn around and say, but in order to get a gun, we're going to jack up the cost of it so high that no one can get one. Yeah, you have to be rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, they're racist. That's what we all got to come together and say. Gun laws are racist. Abolish all gun law because it's racist, and we can't be racist.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's racist. I think they're just trying to protect people, but but their rationality behind trying to protect people is definitely difficult. It's definitely difficult because if you go over to France, there is no mass shootings. You go over to Britain, there is no mass shootings. You go over to Germany, there's no mass shootings, and these are all blanket gun bans. But you go over to Mexico, and it isn't mass shootings; it's just crime, and they have a blanket gun ban as well. But so it's like a very philosophical thing. It's like, okay, so we're in one of the richest countries in the world. I don't see how a blanket gun ban couldn't be effective, as well as a complete everyone having a gun couldn't be effective. I don't see how either one can't be effective, but then again, I see how they can. It's just the gun thing to me. The more I read about this, the more I'm like, dang, okay, so it's not working. People having guns, that's period. It's people having guns is not working. Period. There's going to be mass shooters. Period. As long as we have guns, but in nations where they have taken them away, and they seem to be more like us in a sense, like Britain, Germany, France. It seems like only 35 people die a year of guns. That's a lot better than what happened in this country last year, 11,000. So, I mean, like it goes, but then again, Mexico has a blanket gun ban, but it's a lot of stuff because they border us. So they could be getting too much. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to push back a little. None of those countries you named have a blanket gun ban. Not one of them.
Britain does.
No, it doesn't. You can have hunting rifles in Britain. You can have firearms in Britain. There's a pretty lengthy licensing process, and there's some safety and security measures that you have to take, but you can own weapons in Britain. You can't own a handgun, but you can own weapons there. France, you can own weapons. It's the same kind of thing. They don't have a massive gun violence issue, but they have a huge knife problem. And last year, someone used a van to kill 61 people by just running into a crowd. So, okay, you didn't have a mass shooting, but you still had a mass casualty event because you had a crazy person that had a vehicle. So,
if the gun laws aren't stricter or more or banned there, how come there are less gun deaths in that country than there is in America?
Well, I would imagine there's a lot less guns, there. But the point is that you also have to look at some of those. Okay, France is the size of like Kentucky. Okay.
Right.
Their population, I believe, is somewhere around like 22 million or something like that. Little easier to be so authoritarian to a much smaller nation. Britain, I would definitely push back. And Australia also has really strict gun laws, and so does New Zealand. But New Zealand just had a mass shooting event last year. So even with their very, very strict gun laws, nearly banning guns, they still have they still had a mass shooting event. But what I would say is also, all three of those countries are islands, and they're small. I mean, Australia is pretty large, but it's an island. Okay,
but you
can restrict things coming in to your nation a lot easier
Mm-hmm.
when you're on an island. Okay, but also it's not going to matter because people can 3D print guns now.
Mm-hmm.
So
France and Germany are specifically connected to the Middle East, which more deaths happen there than anywhere else. So I mean, it's actually shameful to say that more deaths happen in America than it happens over there, where there is actually a war going on, compared to like America, where we have
it's apples and oranges. You're talking the population of California and the population of Arizona between both those countries.
I got to look into that.
I can look it up right now. What the population of Germany is?
Yeah, go ahead.
The population of
France.
Of France, yeah. Let's look it up. Population of France is okay. So they've got a bigger population than I thought, but the best estimate, but still, the best estimate on France is 65 million people, including all whatever countries that France is involved with.
Right.
So it's 65 million. Okay, so you're what? Yeah. Well, France is California and Washington and Oregon combined then. So it's 3 states. It's got the population of 3 of our states, basically. And
they have 30, like, how many gun deaths did they have last year in France?
I have no idea. I'd have to look that up too.
Yeah, go ahead.
A second here. And then Germany's at 84 million. So you're right. They're bigger than I thought. But the point is, you're still looking at 2 countries that are quite a bit smaller. Land mass wise, they're actually a lot smaller than America. And you also have the situation where you have
go ahead.
We have 50 states, and those states are sovereign. You know what I mean? So for the federal government to go, you cannot have guns at all, which, by the way, is an absolute complete violation of the Second Amendment. You're basically going to tell 50 sovereign states, we supersede everything that you say, and we're just going to do this thing. That's going to cause a war. That would be an absolutely moronic situation, in my opinion.
Okay, I want to stop you here on this. UK, this is the UK. These are statistics from the UK. This is, first of all, an article to, like, and I'm trying to make sure it's not from like a biased source, but this is 4 countries with gun control laws. Only 4, right? These are the 4 countries with gun control laws. And basically, the article starts out by saying there's 25 times more deaths from gun violence in America than there are from these countries. So
yeah, we have 500 million firearms in this country.
But check this: the UK does have a blanket gun ban, and it's that's what it's saying. And it's saying from March 1996, gun control. That's when they carded it. Let's see how many deaths happened. They did it because it was 16 random shootings, signed by 70,000 people. Let's see the gun crime rate. So the gun crime rate is right now in that country, literally only 10 people have died from guns as of last year, compared to how many people. Let's see how many people died in America last year.
Oh, a bunch, but most of those are suicide. So I've got this from Germany.
But I'm saying this to say that this is a very philosophical argument, because how come these nations that are so small and are attached to the European, or are attached to countries that have wars going on right now, like the Middle East and Afghanistan and Pakistan, and all these places that have all this crime going on, Russia included, but they seem to be just fine. How do they manage properly? You know what I mean?
Well, the easiest thing I would say is they don't have constitutions like we do. So I don't think that, I think based on your argument there, if you're saying that it's either no gun laws or take all the guns, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to just absolutely 100% violate the U.S. Constitution. Multiple amendments. We're not talking about just the Second Amendment. In order to confiscate them, you're gonna be violating the 4th, the 5th. You're basically gonna have to violate the 3rd, right? Mm-hmm. Which would be interesting because no one ever talks about that one. But you're also going to violate the 13th because if those people refuse to give it up, you're going to throw them in prison. That's enslavement. You're going to violate the 14th because you're not going to be people won't be equally treated in that. So it doesn't matter. They would cause a war. There's only one way here that works from an American principle. Otherwise, I guess we just say, screw it, we're not American anymore. But good luck, because I just feel like that would cause a whole bunch of violence. I found this from Germany.
Yeah.
This is for 2019. It's the earliest numbers I can get. 2019, there were 720 murders recorded by the police in Germany, following the 901 that occurred in 2018, the highest amount committed in a single year since 2000, when there was 930. But that's just murders with guns. It doesn't give me all of the gun deaths or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what their overall numbers are. And it's we record our crime statistics and stuff differently than other nations. So it's very difficult to know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like I said, it's very philosophical. It's either like we take the guns completely away, or we take away all bans on guns so people can protect themselves.
Yeah.
I either which way, I don't know. Like that's it. This is a really like I'd rather have guns, but if there was 4 mass shootings within the past week, which seems to happen every time a Democrat gets elected, if there were 4 mass shootings within the past week, it's like I don't know, like what else would work? Giving everybody a gun wouldn't stop violence, and there are people in this country who really don't want to fight; they just want to live their lives.
Taking all the guns away isn't going to stop violence.
Yeah, I mean, see, it's philosophical. Yeah, to me it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
My outlook is that we have a constitutional right in this country to keep and bear arms, and so any conversation that starts to go, well, we should, maybe think about taking specific. No taking. There's no taking. So that's just my outlook on it. And every time they've passed these extended background checks, every time that you can look at the inner city and see what happens in the inner city, the stricter the gun laws get. Rather that be New Jersey, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Chicago, obviously. I mean, they call that place Chirac. You know what I mean?
But you know what's shocking? Like, I'm looking at a map of like gun deaths around the world, and like literally, like, for Black people to kill themselves in this country is strange because in Africa they don't. Like, I'm looking at literally like as like how like the gun deaths from like the red zones compared to in 2021 compared to the red zones. There's like red zones and there's purple zones, and the red zones are like high mortality rate from guns, which America's top in the charts. And then you have countries like Russia. Well, I don't know. They might not be being honest here because Russia's not even like ranking. But I think Russia's bad.
I would assume there's a lot of not honest reflections on those kind of maps because you're basing it on their governments. But one of the other things too is people hear gun death, they think murder. That's not the majority of gun deaths in America are suicide. It's like 6 out of 10 are suicide.
Right.
So, it's not like for him to come out and say, oh, it's an epidemic. We have an epidemic of gun violence. From the best estimates I could find last year, there were 75,000 gun-related injuries, not deaths, injuries. Okay. Yeah. There were 750,000 deaths from drug overdoses. What's really the epidemic?
Right.
So when I'm sorry, when the government starts going, well, and then one of the things he said is no constitutional right is absolute. That's one of the things he said. And I'm like, the Second Amendment ends with shall not be infringed. That is absolute. Mm-hmm. It's the only amendment that ends that way. The only one. It was like they knew, you know what I mean? Yeah, those guys are signing that. They were like, no. Because later on, they're going to try to monkey with this thing, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
now,
sure.
They have been forever, obviously. You know what I mean? But he also said, just like you can't scream fire in a crowded theater. Yes, you can. The Supreme Court ruled on that almost 60 years ago. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. But Democrats say that all the time, and it's like, that's not true. Yes, you can. Now, if you do, then the theater operator may ask you to leave, and if you don't, that's trespassing. But you absolutely have the right to yell that. You know what I mean? So anytime people say that, I'm like, you're wrong. Anyway, so I just found that interesting, and I wanted to get your perspective on that. As far as them trying to, and a lot of people say, oh, well, it's just it'll just be a little more difficult. But that's what they've consistently done. Make it a little more difficult, a little more difficult, a little more difficult. And then next thing you know, everyone's going to be going, wait, what do you mean? So
I didn't know this, though. Honduras and Venezuela. I knew Venezuela was bad because of socialism, but Honduras, I didn't know Honduras was that bad when it came to gun deaths. It's horrible.
Yeah.
That's like the worst place to live when it comes to gun deaths. Yeah. I don't know much. I got to look into that. I don't know much about Honduras. I got to look more into the gun thing too, because
I think it's because of the drug trade, and also they eat guinea pigs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I really actually believe most of it's the drugs. I think it's the drug trade, and you have that violence. A lot of South America's issues down there are probably a lot of it has to do with our war on drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely makes. Now let me look more into it, man. I'll come back on here with it, because I was debating another guy about this, and I was saying how we should just give all the guns, just give everybody guns, like give people the ability to protect themselves. And he had some good comebacks. I mean, he was giving me countries that he wasn't saying blanket gun bans, but basically they were blanket gun bans. Like you really couldn't get a firearm even if you wanted to.
That's fine, but I'm not concerned with what other countries do. That's their shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is America. I'm concerned about our shit, and our shit says bite me.
Well, no, but what he was saying was like, okay, we're a first world country, so being a first world country, how can we not get things like that under control? It's almost like ridiculous to say when Japan has under control.
Again, island.
Japan?
Yeah.
China has it under control. And Pakistan
says they have it under control, but China's a communist country. They will shoot you in the street and not even give a damn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So that's a little different situation. You start talking communism and socialism and their governments that'll just straight up cut your head off in public. They have it under control. Their people are terrified. You know what I mean?
Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea. I mean, the list goes on of countries that have it completely under control that kind of have very, very strict gun laws. So, I mean, like he made a good point when he said that, when I was thinking about it. But then at the same time, we live in a country where it's just too much diversity. It's too many people trying to.
And it's a constitutionally protected right.
Yeah. And we're still building. Yeah. And we're still building the nation. So, I mean, I don't know. I think everybody should have one. I agree with you on that. But I'll definitely come back on here with like more debate questions about that, because like I want to see, like, I can't remember what he said, but definitely it had a lot to do with other countries that are technically first world countries like ours.
Right.
How are they able to handle their problems better than we are?
That's fine, and that's all good and everything, except for here's my issue on that. And like I stated before, I don't give a damn about other countries. I give a damn about our country. If they want to take self-defense away from their citizens, and their citizens are good with it, hey, more power to you. But this is America, and I can point, screw other countries. I don't care about them. Let's talk about the fact that Chicago has extraordinarily strict gun laws and a massive violent crime, problem or whatever. 50, 60 people every weekend get shot up in Chicago, right? You look at New York, huge violent crime problem or whatever, very strict gun laws. Philadelphia, same problem. Baltimore, same problem. Now Minneapolis, because they decided, we don't need cops. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just getting worse for these cities. The stricter the gun laws get, the worse it gets, because criminals go to criminal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but if you take,
as far as that goes,
let's say you take guns completely away from the nation.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that when there's 500 plus million guns in the hands here? You would literally need the United States military to march on people, and you're going to start a war.
Well, let's say like you take the guns. Let's talk philosophical here. You take the guns completely away from all those people in Chicago, all those people in all these gang areas, and you give them nothing. Will there be that many gun deaths?
There won't be any gun deaths. You know what there will be? 50 or 60 stabbing deaths, or people getting hit by cars or beat to death with a bat or a rock or whatever. Like, you're not going to stop it. This is gang violence. The guns are not the problem in gang violence. Okay. If they want to stop violence, first of all, the crazy people that are going to go try to shoot crap up, they're just going to do that. But more armed society, I think you stand a way better chance of having a lower death rate in those situations.
The gangs dictate everything because of their guns.
I understand. No, I don't think that's true. I think they would just find other violent ways to do it.
I think
you disarm the population. These gang members are going to get a bat and beat the hell out of you and take your stuff anyway. It doesn't matter.
Well, if that's the case, then why don't gangs control Britain? Why don't gangs control Germany? Why don't gangs control Japan? Why don't gangs control China? Why are these places different
Gangs
compared to
do
Peru?
control large portions of those places. They have those problems.
But they're not.
You better look into that way better. You know what the triads are? Do you know what the triads are?
Yeah, I know what the triads are.
Okay, that is a massive international gang, and guess where they're from? China.
Well, let's look up how they're doing right now. The triads disappeared the same time the mafia did. Let me show you. Like, hold on, triads. Do you think the mafia is still around too?
Oh, I think the mafia basically just got themselves elected to government.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't go away. They got elected. Come on now.
You think the mafia is out there killing people in numbers like they were back in the 1950s and 40s?
No, but why was the mafia killing people back then? What was going on with the government?
It was corrupt.
And they were doing what? Outlawing all kinds of shit. For what reason? Because they found it morally wrong, right?
I don't know about that.
The mob started because of prohibition, bro.
No,
the government started the mob, and then they went after the mob. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, whatever. We're going to move on to this reparation stuff because I think this is interesting.
Well, no. Hold on, because I want to get you on that. You said the triads are what, running China right now?
I didn't say they were running China. I said they're from China.
Okay, so I'm asking you, do people die by the triads as much as they die by the gangs in Chicago?
Probably not, but that doesn't mean anything.
First
of all, China's not going to be honest with you anyway. Japan's not going to be honest about shit like that because they want to look better.
Well, you're saying that I'm telling you that if you took a blanket gun ban and got rid of all guns in Chicago, you would change the gangs. The gangs are
after you had to murder 60 million people.
The gangs dictate the turf on which everyone plays because they have guns.
Police have guns and they can't seem to stop them.
Right, but everyone is afraid of the gangs because they have guns. They have high-powered guns that they're buying from white people, and they're using them to kill each other with them. So
right. I'm saying, and you're also telling the law-abiding people you can't buy a gun, and if you try, you're going to go to jail. So the gang members who don't care about laws know that these people are unarmed, which is why they can do this to those people. If all of those people are armed, those gangs would lose their power. How many more from that?
Mm-hmm. How many more people are dying from gang violence? Is it actually people or is it the gang members?
Well, I'd imagine it's mostly the gang members, but you hear all the time about these gang members doing a drive-by or whatever. They shoot up a block party or something or a birthday party, killing all kinds of randos, right? So my point is, like, taking the guns away won't stop violence. Could you slow it? Yeah, sure. You can say, oh, look, we solved the gun problem. All right. But how many people would still be dying in Chicago? A shit ton, guaranteed. Because the problem is that you're in basically at this point now a war-torn community where they're fighting over turf, like you said. They're not going to stop fighting over turf. First of all, they're not going to give you their guns. Good luck. How the hell are you going to get them? You're going to have to take them by force, just like the other 60 million people that are just going to go, no, you're going to have to take them by force. So in order to take all of the guns, if for no other reason why this is a terrible idea, you'd have to kill 50 million people. So we're going to commit genocide to stop to stop, 75,000 gun injuries a year. We're going to commit a genocide to do that. That seems absolutely ridiculous to me. Even from a philosophical standpoint, it seems ridiculous.
Well, I mean, this country is known to fall in line with anything. So, like, I doubt 60 million people are going to fight anything, to be 100% honest with you. But like I said, it's philosophical. I'm saying, like, you could either take the guns completely away, which will eliminate gun deaths, period. It doesn't matter what you say. Gun deaths will go away if you take away guns. Or
you can't take them all away.
Or you can give everybody guns, which also you can't do. You can't give everybody in this country a gun.
Sure you could. It's easy. You just make them and then you hand them out.
there are so many, there are millions upon millions of pacifist people in this country that don't believe in guns, don't want nothing to do with guns.
Okay, I'm not saying you force them to have a gun. I'm saying you make sure that if they want one, they can get one.
I mean, that's how it is.
Very easily.
Is that not how it is now?
No, it's not.
How not? Only people that can't get guns are criminals.
Did you not hear me talk about red flag laws? And also that's horse shit. Because there's a bunch of places now, cities, that say that if you can't pass a mental background check, you can't get a gun. You're not a criminal. You just can't get one because they're like, well, we don't know if you're stable. You know how many soldiers have been told, like, I'm sorry, but you have a diagnosis of PTSD, so we're going to have to go through a whole extended process. I'm telling you, man, that's not true. That's some bullshit Democrat lies that you've been fed into your head, bro.
So you're saying, no. So you're saying a law-abiding citizen can't get a gun?
Sure, they can. I'm saying let's make it as easy as possible. Let's literally say, walk into the store and say, I want that one, and then walk out when you gave them the money. That's what I'm saying.
Again, so can a
law-abiding all their background checks.
Again, so can a law-abiding citizen get a gun?
In most places in the West, yes. Go to Chicago and try to buy a gun, law-abiding or not. Try it. Go ahead.
I got friends that got guns. I have friends that legally.
I literally just had a conversation with someone who in Philadelphia went and tried to buy a gun, and they got told, I'm sorry, you don't need one, because they don't have a shall order or shall issue permitting process. They have a may order. So if you can't prove why you need a gun, you're not allowed to buy one. It's simple enough. The police chief says no.
Like you're doing it. No, you're regurgitating public Republican talking points. Let me tell you, like,
I'm regurgitating Tim Pool, who tried to do it.
You're saying
videotape the entire process.
Hold on. Listen, you're interviewing me. Listen, you're saying that nobody in Chicago can buy a gun.
I'm not saying nobody. I'm saying Chicago is way more difficult.
Can you buy a gun in Chicago?
But I don't fucking care. It's a Second Amendment. They should be able to walk in and just buy the damn thing. They're a U.S. citizen. He's triggered. Yes, I am. I am triggered.
Okay, back to the question. Can you buy a gun in Chicago?
Obviously, you can buy a fucking gun.
Okay, then shut the fuck up. What you crying for? You can buy a gun in Chicago.
They're violating your rights. Not everyone can.
Listen. You can buy a gun anywhere you want to go. You can buy a gun anywhere in America.
No, you can't.
Move to the next question. Just move to the next question.
Okay. Yeah. Guns are they're the one thing that's hard for me to talk about. I get too irritated on it. My apologies.
No, you're good. It's just like that's the thing about this country. People get so irritated on topics that literally they tell you if you took every gun away, it would help the problem. They try to say Democrats are racist, Democrats are this, Democrats are that, but then they repeat talking points that don't make any sense either. They say, oh, well, give everybody a gun. And right now everybody can get a gun, and there's a massive amounts of shootings that are happening because everybody can get a gun. So it's like,
but you understand that a mass.
Hold on. My point at the beginning was that it's philosophical. I agree with you on giving everybody a gun, but because people have guns, there are gun deaths. If you took away the guns, you would prevent gun deaths. Straightforward.
I agree with you on that.
There is no city in America right now where you cannot get a gun. I don't care about what's happened to Marines or whatever that's came back home from wars or whatever they came back home from. PTSD, that is a problem. People shoot up churches and malls because of PTSD. Again, I'm not saying that everybody. Name one.
Name a service member.
Okay, good. What was the dude's name? Chris Kyle? How did he die?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Chris Kyle is? He's the dude that made American Sniper. How did he die?
Oh, he died from someone that shot him, yes.
Who shot him?
I don't fucking know.
Okay, it was a soldier struggling from
PTSD. By the way, that movie is all just Hollywood nonsense. We could talk about that later, like in offline or whatever.
No.
Okay, fair, fine, whatever. But he didn't shoot up a bunch of people. He shot up this guy, right? Didn't he get murdered?
The guy that shot Chris Kyle murdered 6 or 7 other people in the process.
Okay. Well, look, I'm not saying that you're wrong, that if you took every single gun away, that there wouldn't be gun deaths. Actually, I would say you're wrong because I think cops would still shoot people, and I would count that as a gun death.
Take away from them too.
If you're gonna take them away from the citizens, then I agree with you. Then you have to take them away from everybody.
No, here I'm gonna say this. In Africa, you want to know what happens in Africa? There aren't police shooting people. You want to know why people don't shoot? You want to know why police don't shoot people like crazy in America, like America does? Like, you want to know why they don't do it in Africa? Because they believe in fighting. They believe like, okay, fuck, I'm not going to shoot you. I'm gonna pick my hands up and I'm gonna beat your ass. Like that's what they believe in. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be great if that's how people handled their shit in America.
But that's why there are less gun deaths in Africa. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand. Plus, I think a lot of their populations in their countries aren't allowed to have guns, which is also how you can have genocides that have happened in Africa a bunch of times.
That's true with machetes.
Yeah, but they use guns as well. They got the AKs. They buy them off the Russians.
That's true.
Then they shoot up a village and then they cut all the people up. Well, if those people were armed, maybe their odds would be a little better. I don't know that they would be great. I'm saying maybe a little better.
Yeah. I mean,
but I agree with you. If you took all of the guns away and just melted them all, yeah, sure. There's no more gun deaths. I agree with you on that. So I'll agree with you on that. I don't think you can do that and then also have even a remittance of saying, oh, you live in a free society if you can't. Because, like, I know there's a lot of gun violence and stuff. I understand that. But if you take into account how many people actually own firearms, how many people use those firearms for self-defense, and also how many firearms there just are, and then you compare that to how many people or the gun violence, it is like minuscule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Comparative. Now, it's just the mass shootings are terrible, and you hear about them because there's multiple victims. And sure, that's going to always make the news because they're bloodthirsty cult people that work in the media, and anything that they can get clicks on, they're going to use the crap out of it. But you also notice that in those shootings, right, there's only one that they really, really kept harping on for a while, and that was the Atlanta shooting.
Right.
All the rest of them, they kind of shut up pretty quick about because it didn't fit their narrative exactly. You know what I mean?
No,
their narrative's not exactly that there is these massive gun deaths. Their narrative now, if you look at like their coverage of them over the last couple of months or whatever, is who's doing it is more important than that it's done, that's scary to me because it shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter. It should only matter that it's happening. Why is it happening? Is there a way that we can, try to make it less or happen less or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you said, maybe it's everyone's armed or all the guns are gone. I just don't think restricting purchasing of firearms or whatever is going to do the job. I'm with you.
Yeah, like, and that's where I'm at with it too. I'm like, because they want to ban AR-15s and they want to go down the list of things they want to ban, and I'm like, it's not solving the problem either which way. So I mean, yeah, like it's either we take the guns completely away or we let everyone in the country be able to have a gun.
Right. I agree with that.
What I'm seeing, these countries that have blanket gun bans or bans where they cannot get their hands on guns have the least amount of gun deaths out of us. So, I mean, we're
that's cool. I want to look into. Before our next show, I want to look into that, and I want to see how bad was their gun violence first, and then how long did it take them? Like, did the people just, oh, okay, here's all the guns, or was it violent to get them off the streets? Because I would assume probably a lot of those countries, it was probably mainly pretty easy for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine there was also some probably pretty brutal violence that took place in the process of getting them. And these are countries, like I said, that are smaller, that don't have those people aren't going to be like, whoa, wait, I have this constitutional amendment that protects me from you doing this.
Right.
And I'm not saying you're probably right. 60 million probably wouldn't fight back, but I'd almost guarantee about 20 million would. And I don't want to see 20 million. Actually, you're going to see more than 20 million people die because they're going to fight back. And I don't want to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, again, it's just it's because, I mean, the other guy, I'm trying to, we'll come back on this because I know a guy that he's really good. He's really good with this because he understands the gun laws and how they all work and stuff like that. And he was debating me on it because I said that we should just give guns to everybody. It got this heated too with him. And at the end of it, we were good. But like he basically said that the countries that are still we are a first world country basically, right?
Yeah.
And the countries that are first world countries have damn near blanket gun bans, right. And they're fine. But again, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're not fine though. They're fine when it comes to guns, but they're not fine because they still have knife attacks. They have the people throwing acid in people's faces and stuff like that. So they're not fine. They still have pretty violent crimes happening. It's just not with guns. But but they're still happening, you know. Now Britain's going after knives pretty heavy. You know, I don't know if they are, because they're like, now what do we do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like, so that's it. But anyway, all right. So we're gonna move on. So in the last little while, a couple of places in the country have started their own version of like reparations programs. Okay. So we're gonna start with this one over here. Evanston, Illinois, approved the country's first reparations thing. Let me pull this up so I can read just a little of it to you.
Okay.
This is from CNN, but officials in the Chicago suburb of Evanston voted Monday to release the first batch of funds in a program offering reparations to oh, shut up, you thing. What are you doing? Things like yelling in my ear right now. Silence. All right. Sorry about that. So this is how it works. So the suburb of Evanston voted Monday to release the first batch of funds in the program that offers reparations to Black residents whose families have felt the effects of decades of discriminatory housing practices. So I guess it's developed plan to direct revenue from a 3% tax on legalized cannabis into assistance for home loans. So the first initiative of the $10 million plan is the Restorative Housing Reparations Program that would distribute up to $25,000 for housing per eligible resident, with funding expected to come from their marijuana thing. So my understanding is that they can get up to $25,000 in revenue to either purchase a home, right, to use as like a down payment, or to also like repair their home. Like if their home's kind of run down, then they can get this money and they can use it to repair their home. Now, I mean, I guess they call it reparations, but I guess I just don't see it that way, because it's very specific on what it has to be utilized for.
Well, they had to be, because you have too many white people in this country, and this is just being straightforward. You have too many white people in this country that would look at that and be like, oh my God, that's racist. Why are we singling out a certain group of people just because of something that happened back in 1865? But they have to be specific, because redlining was a specific thing that happened to the Black community.
Right.
And it was purposefully done to the Black community in order to, I would say, neutralize them. I mean, but they have to be.
Redlining was designed to keep them out of certain neighborhoods, right?
Yeah. So it was designed basically, to keep Black people out of certain neighborhoods and like keep. It's just the irony in this is that they set up abortion clinics and gun stores in these same areas, and it was like they were trying to put these people in these areas specifically in order for them to like have less resources and be able to kill themselves. That's what I think from it. But the reparations thing, like, again, I told you before, I disagree with reparations, but only because it's the same thing with the stimulus check. We gave every American a stimulus check, and I'm not saying every one of them did it, but the majority of them went out and spent it. They probably, the majority of people, their money is probably already gone now. This is just an assumption, but I can assume that most people are not financially literate. So Black people specifically, and this is not an attack on the Black community. I keep getting that on my page. I'm attacking us. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm saying that we as a community have been set so backwards by everything that's happened to us in this country that right now, what we need is specific things. And like I said, I think I told you this before. I think it's the saying is called the going tide raises all boats or something like that. But I mean, I'd say everyone just get free college. Like, everyone just get free college. That way you won't hear white people complaining. You won't hear Arabs complaining. You won't hear any other people complaining about what they're giving to Black people. Everyone get free college. That way Black people can just go to college and get what they need to get out of that. Just giving money out is just going to cause too much. It's just going to cause too much confusion. It's too many people in this country. Like, for example, I don't want to say where, but there's a place I go where people, they're mad about that. They haven't, what you just read to me, they have not even read anything about that, and they're mad about it, and they're saying it to me, and they're going like, oh yeah, well, you got your fucking reparations. That's what they said. And I'm like, wow.
Well,
mean,
first of all, you didn't.
Yeah, nothing's happened here yet. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I think if we want to come together as Americans, in all seriousness, like we gotta like start. I don't want to say forget the past. I don't want to say that. And I'm not just talking to black people. I'm talking to white people as well. When it comes to certain issues, we have to kind of forget things and realize that we're all in the same country, and we all need to protect one another. And this goes back to like the gun laws. That's why I said like I agree with you when you say give everybody a gun, because if you had more people, it would show how united we are as a country.
Right.
If everybody got a gun, right, and somebody went in and shot up a mall or a church or something like that, and then some hero came in and shot him before all that happened. You know what I mean? It would show how much more together we are as a country. It's kind of what I admire about, I think it's Switzerland. You couldn't attack Switzerland.
No, everyone has an AK-47.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's armed.
I think they get it when they're 18, but they have to go through training. They don't just hand them to people. There's training involved.
Yeah. So that, I mean, could you force Americans to do that?
I think if they wanted it, then that would be part of the deal. Like, hey, we're gonna hand these out to people, right? But in order to get it, you're gonna have to go through this training program. I think that's fine. Like, because they don't have to take it either. They don't want it. They don't have to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
If they were smart, they probably wouldn't put a sign in their yard that like says they were anti-gun, because you just kind of told them where to go. So I thought the Illinois one was interesting in Evanston, because it's it's specific for housing and development. I found that kind of interesting. But then we have over here, and this is from Newsweek, so they have a really stupid headline that I'm not going to read, but it's from Oakland, California. Adopted a guaranteed income. See, I don't even want to read this, because they're doing that, just like what you were talking about, like, oh, look, they're just racist or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just racist, and I'm like, no, I want to just have the actual just information of what the program is. So here, okay, this is from the U.S. Sun. Yeah. Oakland was accused of racism, but I don't care about that part.
Why?
Well, hang on, I'm telling you. Accused of racism for giving families $500 a month if they earn under $59,000, but not if they are white. So the mayor announced the Guaranteed Income Project on Tuesday, which will give the money to 600 Black and Indigenous families on a lottery basis with no strings attached. The Oakland Resilient Families Program is the latest trial of a guaranteed income system of wealth distribution, CNN reports, where residents are given a set amount of money to supplement other income. The city claims the extra money, which will amount to $9,000 in total, will target wealth disparities among residents. So they'll get $5, and it's only like, it's just a test case. It's not like, but people were saying, oh yeah, because it's only for Black people and Indigenous people, it's racist. And I'm like, all right, but it's it's not racist. It's reparations for past things that happened, right?
But again, like, and that's the part where I say, this is why I like President Obama. Like 100%, this is the reason why I liked him, because he understood that the country right now is to ask for something like that. You're walking on a thin line. You're walking way too hard on a thin line, and you're to give people that right now. You're accusing people of something that they don't think that they've done. You see what I'm saying? And to be honest, white people in this era have not done anything to Black people compared to, I'm trying to tread carefully what I say, but like they have not done what has happened back in the 1960s, what happened up into the early 1990s. Or I could say this, white people have been working on trying to build the relationship back that was tainted by their ancestors. Right. 100%. But when you go around and you say, you owe me money because you're white, it's like, you'll never get you'll never get anyone to agree on that. So what I liked about Obama was he said one thing about a police officer once, white people went up in arms. He never talked about the police again. He never talked about the Ferguson. He never talked about any type of shooting that happened amongst black people or white people while he was president, because he knew the moment he mentioned anything, everybody was going to jump up in arms. And I think that's why I respected him so much, because he knew to walk that thin line, and he knew to respect the heart of the nation, if that makes any sense.
Right.
He respected the heart of the nation. Whereas in, like, it's one of the reasons why, like I said on one of my videos, like, All Lives Matter, I didn't like Trump. I felt like Trump was a good president, maybe, but I felt like I felt like as a leader,
he could have been better that way. He could have been more open and inclusive.
Like, I like Pence. I'd rather Pence had been the president. You see what I'm saying? Because even if I don't know if I disagree with a lot of conservative views. I really don't. I agree with a lot of them, but Pence was more poised. He was more of a president to me. Yeah. And a lot of people are probably going to get on your page and say, "Whoa, that's what we liked about Trump. He wasn't a politician." I'm like, yeah, I get that. But you kind of don't want somebody in office just spouting off the mouth about anything that's a sensitive topic. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
If the nation is too sensitive about it, like guns is a good example of this. This is the conversation. Guns, religion, politics. These are conversations that are like, I can have them with anybody because I like to, but I notice that they get very, 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 very touchy. And
everybody's got their one thing that's going to piss them off.
Yeah. And to be so absurd about your view on it it's almost it's just not good. I'll just say it's not good. Yeah, I just say. And the same thing with like Biden. Like, I think Biden, come on now, you know how many mass shootings has happened in this country, and you know that the banning the further you go is only going to cause more frustration amongst the people who are law abiding. And like, so it's like, why are you trying to keep pushing? Pushing.
It seems antagonistic, I think, to people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're trying to say, like, you're trying to ban guns slowly. It's like, okay, why don't you just tell them you're going to ban us so we can all fight? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
just get it over with.
Yeah, right.
Winner take all.
Right. Or why don't you just, like, realize, okay, in some of these states where the shootings are mostly happening, in states that have bans, stronger gun bans, not bans, but I keep saying bans, but stricter gun laws. In those states, like, why don't you just, like, let everybody have a gun and see what happens then?
Well, I mean, I just look at it like in this regard. I look at the drug war the same, and all is that if you keep trying the same thing over and over and over and over, and it's not garnering you any, you're not getting anywhere, and you just keep doubling down on your ideology, and it's still not getting you anywhere. Maybe at a certain point you need to step back and go, okay, let's tear all this down and try it from a different direction. You know what I mean? Because this isn't working. And it seems to me, especially with government, they refuse to just go, that didn't work. We failed. Let's just drop it and then try it a different direction or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, they just go, well, we'll just keep doing more. And I'm like, but it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So I just kind of wish that they'd get smarter about that. I mean,
but
anyway,
back to reparations.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But back to reparations, like, there's, I just had an argument with a good friend of mine about this, because, like, he doesn't like, and I'm gonna put it out there, he doesn't like that I communicate with the conservative community at all. And I'm like, why? Like, we have so many more conservative views, but he thinks that a lot of conservatives use black faces in order to manipulate the audience into thinking, like, okay, a black person is saying this, you should agree. And to me, I'm like, well, I mean, one, a lot of things they say, a lot of black people wouldn't disagree with. And two, why can't we have the conversation? Like, reparations, he's big on it. It should be passed in every state. Everybody black ancestor is black should get reparations. But then I threw him out there. I'm like, well, dude, I threw this out there. I'm like, well, dude, you got to look at it. Like, how many of the people you know right now own slaves? Personally, like they don't. And to a lot of white people, it looks at it like, okay, so you're blaming us for something that we didn't do right now. Mm-hmm. And it's a topic I think, like, again,
it's a nightmare situation. I almost feel like, you know, if we just like pass some like $2 trillion bill and send everyone a check or whatever, you know, all the black people a check, it might be worth it just so you can be like, all right, let's drop it. We're done.
Yeah. And see, then you get that.
Kind of like you're kind of like everyone gets a gun or no one has a gun. Yeah, same argument. Like maybe the easier way to deal with this is just cut the check.
Yeah, you know? and that's another thing. Let me say this. That's another thing. That's another reason why I don't want it, because I know how sneaky some people are. Some people know how set back the black community has been because of the things the government has done. People know this, right? Yeah. They know why we kill each other in the numbers we do. They know why a lot of black people don't graduate college. A lot of black people are struggling. They know why. Mm-hmm. So giving them the money, you know exactly what they're going to do with it.
Yeah,
it's like
that is the problem.
Yeah, like why would you do that? Like why wouldn't you? And this is my beef with Democrats right now. It's like, why aren't you? You talk so much about helping communities and helping minorities and helping people out, but then when you get elected, you ignore everything about minorities, and then you start talking weird things like, oh, we're going to give reparations for housing, we're going to do it slowly, and we're going to do this and that. And it's like, well, either help us or don't at all. Like,
right. Like either help us or leave us the hell alone so we can help ourselves.
Get out of our way, like right. and you know.
Well, what you said, like giving them the money, you know what's going to happen because they know what the problems are. I made a joke because I was talking to another black friend of mine, and I said, you know, what the hell? Let's just cut the check, and then this argument goes away. Republicans and Democrats can stop fighting over it, whatever, you know, maybe move on to something of consequence. I don't know. Yeah. And he goes, man, I just think you're going to see a whole bunch of dudes in the hood with like Rolexes and stuff. And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm going to be buying them for pennies on the dollar in a couple of months. And it was a joke. He knew it was a joke, but I said it on Twitter and like, we were all laughing about it. And it just triggered the shit out of a bunch of Democrats. Like, they're like, oh, you're saying that they're going to like waste all their money? And I'm like, yes. Just like anyone that wins the lottery, what happens? They always wind up broke because poor people win the lottery and they don't know what they're doing with money, you know? Right. Did you ever read anything about Trump's platinum plan that he had?
Yeah, I did. I read about it.
That was basically reparations, but it was like targeted. It was like guaranteed loans, free college for you know, poor minority people, like infrastructure in their areas to make sure that they could get some stuff. And I read it and I'm like, this is reparations. That's what this is, which is fine. I thought it was better because it would help them, you know, grow their community and get stronger. So I kind of saw it as like, all right, well, seems reasonable to me. Let's do it, you know. But
was the platinum plan? Yeah, it was connected with Ice Cube, wasn't it?
I think Ice Cube had his own that he came and sat down and talked to the Trump administration about. I think he had a different one that he had written up, like his, because I think his was contract with Black America or something like that. Ice Cube's, and then Trump had the platinum plan. And then I guess Biden and Harris put out something that, you know, went in the dumpster as soon as they got elected because as far as I know, they're like, oh, whatever, we don't care anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Because one of the things they said, they were going to decriminalize cannabis and they were going to work on expunging the records of a lot of people that had those charges. Yeah. And it got brought up in an interview with Kamala like 2 days ago, maybe it was yesterday, I don't remember. And she literally said, oh, we're just too busy. We don't have time to deal with that. And I'm like, you just played all those people. That's what happened. That's what all politicians do. They just play people. But
but see, the thing is, like, the Democrats mention black people. That's the problem with Republicans. I mean, if Republicans, Trump mentioned us a lot more than the majority of Republicans that have came into office. But
yeah.
it's not. It's the black people vote for Democrats because Democrats mention them more.
Yeah.
I don't understand how Republicans don't understand that. Like, if you mention black people more, you mention an idea, you mention a plan. There's a lot of black people out there that would go vote for you because you have a plan. You know, that's simple, like plain and simple. But you know, throughout, you know, Trump was a bad. Because of all the stuff they dug up about him, like him asking for President Obama's birth certificate.
the birther thing, yeah.
Yeah, then him saying the Central Park Five deserved to die. His father doing
shady deals with the black community, yeah.
And like all those things, you know.
But that Trump shouldn't have got blamed for that one. They were just using that, you know. That's basically using his ancestor against him. And right. I'm like, that's kind of shady to me. But I mean, that's politics as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they just try so hard to demonize the characters. You don't really get to learn too much about them because they're too busy demonizing them. I think that's the problem in our country. Like the news media has just got to go. Period. Like I think the
faster the better.
Yeah, I mean, like because I think a lot of people regurgitate. Like I don't even feel like I'm talking to people anymore. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I'm not talking to the person, and I feel like that those parties blind people into what the real problems really are. Because again. If you help the black community and put it all across the board, right? Mm-hmm. You help the black community, but put it all across the board. What you're doing specifically for the black community was for everybody. Right. It would benefit everybody.
I just don't think the Republican Party is going to do that. I don't think they can get their messaging in order. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that they have ideas and like things that they want to do that would probably help, but they don't know how to message that. You know what I mean? And that's problematic. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know. I think you're starting to see a lot more people that are like, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Or they don't want to be affiliated with them because it's like, you know, they're just freaking out about it. You know what I mean? Like the Republicans first, like the gun situation with us or whatever. Republicans don't want to just give everyone a gun. There's no way, not a chance. That whole party would be like, wait, what? No. You know, if Republicans were really, if they really cared about gun rights, then how many times have they been in power? They could have repealed a mass amount of gun law. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And they don't ever. They're just like, no, because they care about power. That's all they care about. And if you get rid of that power by reforming or repealing things, then I mean, how you going to lock people up? Like, how you going to fill up your buddy's private prison?
But do you think that NRA does scare tactics on America?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you think that their scare tactics to get you to buy more guns?
I would imagine that's what they're doing. They're basically lobbyists for gun manufacturers because they don't actually do anything to protect people's constitutional rights. They don't file suit. They don't file cases and say, hey, this law is unconstitutional. You know, they don't do any of that. They have no legal arm. All they do is rake in money and then scare the hell out of people to make them rush off and buy more guns. Right. And that's basically all they've done for like 30 years now. Because they used to file suit. Like a state had passed a law that was, you know, in breach of the Second Amendment, they file suit and they take them to court, try to get that law like thrown out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And somewhere they just, well, actually, I know when it happened, when they stopped doing it. Reagan. When Reagan was governor of California and he decided to go after the Black Panthers through the gun law, that's when the NRA shifted. So thanks a lot, Ronald Reagan. All right, man. Well, we are just over an hour here. You've been doing a lot more. I've been noticing on your channel. You're spreading those wings out. You and the wife there.
Yeah. We're trying to. We had Johnny Cash. We did Johnny Cash yesterday. Man, good God, I did some I did some research on him. I'm like, whoa, okay, so he's been through a lot. So but we want to go deeper because we didn't know that he was kind of pseudo country.
Yeah. You know, pretty much. You know,
he's not like one of the best country artists there is.
Not at all.
Here, give me some real quick. I'll write them down. Yeah, give me some country people that you think we should do.
Oh, Let's see. Well, I don't know a lot of the new country people because new country's kind of shit.
Oh, yeah, old's better.
Let's see. George Strait.
George Strait.
Keith Whitley. Hank Williams Jr.
I've heard of him.
Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
His father was actually a big star before. So, shit, man, that's good enough for now. That'll get you started. Between those four guys, there's 15,000 songs probably you could pick out of, like, that are great. So Reba McEntire, to throw a woman in there. Let's make sure. Okay. Make sure that the ladies are represented. So Reba, and then let's do Patsy Cline.
Patsy Cline.
Yep. Got to represent those ladies, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Your channel's been pretty awesome. I like you spreading out there quite a bit, and thanks for doing this. Got a little heated. Apologize for that. You're good. But I am gonna do some research into those countries and find out what caused it and how long did it take, because I don't think this is something they were able to do overnight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, of course. I don't know, actually. Maybe not, because I remember I knew somebody that was in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos took power. He used to watch us when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And when Ferdinand Marcos took power in the Philippines, he just took the guns. There might have been bloodshed.
Well, but he took them, though. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to go through this process of getting them off the street. He just said, no, they're coming. Yeah. So he took them by force, probably.
There's no fight, though.
Well, no. I mean, I would imagine most people probably aren't going to fight with the army. You know what I mean?
I don't think people fought against Hitler or Stalin either, did they?
Not really, no. No. But see, that's the other thing too, is like, that's a Republican talking point. They say, oh, they take your guns and then look what happens. And they bring up Hitler, Mao, Stalin, which is true. That happened in history, and it happened after they took the guns. And I'm like, but I could make the argument that, like you said, Britain, you know, France, Germany, New Zealand, Australia, well, they didn't have, you know, that problem. Like, they didn't go murder tens of millions of their citizens. Not saying they couldn't, they just haven't. You know what I mean? So
it sounds like everywhere guns are bad, there's government corruption.
Yeah.
Because even if you think about Chicago, why do people die so often in Chicago? A multitude of businesses moved out of Chicago. Now the only thing that controls Chicago is the gangs, the drugs. That's how they make their money. You can work at a McDonald's or something small like that, but there's not much money in Chicago. It's a dead city. You know what I mean?
Drugs. You got drugs. I mean, that's it.
And the politicians don't give a shit. Neither do the police officers. So it's like corruption. I think corruption spills down. But then again, you got Colorado, where a multitude of mass shootings happen. And I think the government is really...
There's something in the water in Colorado, man. Like, there has to be, because that place was like, they're like always, it's almost to a point now you're so like desensitized to it that it's like, oh, well, it's Colorado, that's kind of normal. You know what I mean? Like, that's sad, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, we changed our mind about moving out there. Me and Kayla did, especially when you tell me like they're really strict on it. Because I mean, like, I wouldn't want to go to no state where, you know, you can get it, but I mean, it'd be a fight to get it when you know something could possibly happen at any moment.
Yeah, and then if you're like in Denver, you can't carry it.
Yeah, that's true.
And even like, if I remember right, even with the concealed carry permit now, they have a law that says you can't carry it in the city of Denver. So like the state of Colorado, you can, but not the city of Denver. And then I think maybe Fort Collins is the same way. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure like Denver's got a zero tolerance for even carrying a firearm, even if you have a permit. So I'm like, well, I mean, that's dumb, but okay. But really, until someone sues them, drags them into the court, and is like, hey, you can't do that or whatever, they can basically, government does whatever the hell it wants until it's forced to stop doing it. That's just the long and short of it.
In a sense, it's not government, though. It's private-owned businesses.
No, but the city itself says that. The city has an ordinance that says it. Like a private business saying it's one thing, but the city itself has an ordinance. That's what I'm saying. Government's going to do whatever government wants until they're forced to stop via the courts or whatever. But people have to spend that money, and the government has a bunch of money, and most people don't have a bunch of money. So, and then the people with money, well, they just bribe a politician to make sure they get a permit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
true. They get special access. So it only affects poor people when they pass this nonsense. And that's what makes me crazy is I'm like, you can't in one breath say, oh, well, we got to take care of the poors, and then pass all this stupid crap that is only going to affect the poors.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like they're telling you who runs this country.
Oh, they are absolutely telling you, Anyway, Cameron, this was awesome. I'm going to do my research in these other places, but I'm going to do mine more state. Like, did gun violence go up or down as gun laws got passed?
Yeah.
It kind of probably jumps around and shifts a bit in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some research too, because I'm not really like this. The topic of guns, like it's one of the hardest conversations for me because it's like I don't know. That's just one thing I don't know. There are some things that are simple. Abortion is bad. That's simple.
Right.
That's simple. Immigration we could work on. That's simple. But like guns is the one where I'm like, okay, I do see how many people die in the U.S. because of guns. Right. But it's like, and we're
but people don't die because of guns. People die because of people with guns. They use them badly.
Right.
To quote Trump, badly.
Yeah. But I mean, people still. I mean, it's still there's still deaths from guns. So it's like,
agreed.
With being a first world country, that's the thing I think he harped on me the most about. We're a first world country. We're not a third world country. We're not a second world country. We're a first world country. How are we not able to control this? And it's like, that's a good question.
It's hard to control a free people.
Yeah, right, right.
So,
and you
can't in one regard say, well, we're a free people, and then go, well, why can't we control each other? Yeah. You literally just said why you can't, because that person goes, I don't want to be controlled. So, anyway, man, this was great. I really appreciate it. We'll set it up again when we're both better on our statistics of our gun numbers.
Right. Okay.
All right, later, my man.
See you later, man.